Hello, my name is Dhaval and welcome to another episode of FP&A Mentors. Picture this, 2 decades of experience. You start as a classic senior accountant in KPMG, then go on to work in FP&A with the largest real estate agency, then with the largest airliner in the Middle East, and now heading business finance and investor relations for one of the largest AI players in the Middle East. This special journey we will be unpacking today. With great pleasure, I welcome our today's guest, Rohan Joab. Rohan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dhaval. Good to be here.
Great. I mean, you have had an interesting journey, right? Impressive journey. Started as a classic accounting role and then moved on to become, a top-notch FP&A leader. So how has that journey been for you? Can we try and unpack some interesting insights, learnings from your journey?
Sure. It's been quite a diverse journey, I have to say that. And I really don't think I was ever expecting to end up in finance.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always said, if it wasn't for bad luck, I probably wouldn't have any luck at all. So hear this, right? I started out as a young kid who wanted to be a professional table tennis player. I was at the nationals, I was pretty good, and a career in table tennis was a realistic option for me. Back then, of course, my hair was long, my thoughts were short, and it was what I wanted to do. And the thing about table tennis is it's actually the world's fastest ball game. So at that level, it's not about reflexes, it's more about anticipation, right? You anticipate where the ball has to come. To put that into financial speak, you're still forecasting where the ball is coming for you to make the next decision, right? And it's been close to 20 years, still doing the same, still forecasting. Unfortunately, I have had 3 knee surgeries since then, and I entered finance while I was recovering from the first knee surgery. So it was right here in Sharjah. I was recovering from my first knee surgery with a brace, so I couldn't walk. And I had this opportunity to be an intern in United Arab Bank. I don't know if you've read this book, Bonfire of Vanities. It's by Tom Wolfe. It's a fabulous book. It's about the banking mafia in the 80s. So, having read that book, I thought this is my life. Banking is the pinnacle of finance. And I was sitting at the teller as an unpaid intern, accepting cash, data entry with my knee brace. And I kept my leg on this little black box under the table because I couldn't bend it. I didn't know, but that little black box was the silent alarm. Right? So within minutes, the police storm into the branch, Sharjah police. And for those of us who've been in this country long enough, you don't mess with the Sharjah police. So they storm in, there's pandemonium, there's yelling, there's shouting. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea I'm the reason they're here. When all was said and done, people figured out that this unpaid intern was responsible for all the chaos. So my boss at that time, very sweet lady, she wanted me fired. The police wanted me fired as well. But how do you fire an unpaid intern, right? So they very politely told me don't show up to work. And that was my first introduction to risk management. That was also the first time the police came before my paycheck, right? So it's not been a good
Quite
start.
an adventurous start.
Yeah. I never thought I would be in finance after that. So this was also around 2008, where there was a global recession. It was impossible for someone like me at a fresher, at the level of a fresher, to get a job, right? So I remember speaking to my granddad and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know which industry to work in. I don't know what to work on. Now, that generation, if you're not a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. You don't really matter, right? So he gave me some sage advice. He said, listen, if you don't know what to work on yourself. Work on your religion, work on your communication, work on mental clarity, work on your fitness. And I took that to heart, and I fought my way into an article position with KPMG, where I was there for 4 years doing audit. That set the foundation for everything I know today in Excel, right? Because at KPMG, speed is a currency.
Yeah.
In audit in particular, right? It also taught me how to thrive, or how to, survive. I wouldn't say thrive, but how to survive in an area with intense competition. Because you know how a Big Four is.
Big Four is, yeah.
I did that for 4 years. It was a great learning experience. And from there, I moved to Crescent Petroleum, which is one of the largest family-run organizations here in Sharjah. And that culture shift was a big change because I went from the intense competition of KPMG to a family run organization where I would say your relationship has equal weightage to the work you do, right? It made me realize that finance is a subset of the culture of the company.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah. They had one particular aircraft. I still remember the name, A6BBJ. So that is how I entered into aviation. And soon enough, Etihad came calling and I joined Etihad FP&A. This was around 2011, 2012, where there was an article in the Financial Times about the FP&A of Etihad being the CFO factory of the world. Because
Wow.
people who graduated from that cauldron of pressure were the CFOs of different airlines across the world. So it was a great opportunity. It actually defined who I am today in terms of my management skills, in terms of the output of my FP&A teams today. I was there for about a decade. I have hundreds of stories about those days. And then I joined Damac. I was reporting directly to the chairman, Mr. Hussain Sajwani, which was also a fantastic experience. Funnily enough, my interview with Mr. Sajwani was conducted in his car while he was on his way to another meeting, and he's on the phone, and there are two other guys trying to get his time and attention, right? So I was at that point considering doing an MBA because I'd done about a decade with Etihad. And I was thinking it's the best time now to do an MBA. So I told him this in his car. And I said, I would rather do my MBA than join you. Thank you very much. But so he put the phone down and said, listen, give me 1 year and you will learn more with me than you would at an MBA.
An MBA.
And he was right. Like, he is never wrong. He was definitely right. It was by far the best learning experience I could have hoped for.
Amazing.
Driving up and down to Dubai is quite challenging. So here I am now with G42 in Abu Dhabi. I've been in Abu Dhabi for the past 10, 15 years. And it's quite a diverse journey.
Interesting. So a couple of similarities there. One is my mother was actually in a bank.
Okay.
So when I was in school, Saturdays we had half day. So I used to go to the bank, and whenever she was in the cash counters, I used to sit beside her and see her counting a lot of cash. So
Which bank was this?
this was UCO Bank.
Okay.
Back in India. Then I think there's a stark difference when we work with a multinational company CEO and an entrepreneur CEO. I think that's what I'm sure your learning at DAMAC must have made you experience that.
Absolutely. It's when you are dealing with a self-made billionaire, the expectation which he places on you is a reflection of his own expectations for himself, right? So you are constantly striving to impress him, right? And that's how they work. They work on a different time scale. There's no night, day, evening, morning,
24/7.
lunch, no. The essence of time, we all have 24 hours in the day, as they say, but the essence of time, if you boil it down to his time versus my time, he's 24/7 on call.
Yeah.
Whereas we have the luxury of taking a breather, getting some sleep, It's a different ball game when you're at that level.
So true. So coming back to your FP&A journey, can you share a couple of stories of how your experiences have been in FP&A, some different kind of experiences or challenges, any stories for our audience?
I have so many. It's finance doesn't operate in a vacuum. Typically, finance is a reflection of the company or the culture of the company, right? So when you move from a big four to a family-run organization to a global enterprise to a startup to an entrepreneurship, if I had to take a leaf out of each of these chapters, and then summarize it to you in the cliff notes, it all comes down to the same thing, where the job of finance is to give your boss flexibility in decisions. I remember at Etihad, it was budget season, and so it would have been around the same time. And I had done my bit, so it was a weekend. I'm at the groceries. I'm preparing for the week ahead, and I get a call from my boss. Brilliant gentleman by the name of Danish, right? So he called me and said, "Where are you? Why aren't you in office?" So I told him, I've done my work, so I'm doing groceries. And he said, if you want to be a leader, show up and do more. Put the phone down. So I rushed to office, and I rushed just the way I was, right? So I'm in flip-flops, I'm in shorts. I don't know, I had like a bag of onions in one hand and, vegetables in the other. But I remember I brought some refreshments for the team, and the team couldn't care less what I was wearing. They couldn't care less about the vegetables. They were just happy to have a second set of eyes, right? Another pair of hands. And it taught me the value of leadership. Leadership is all about presence.
Right.
Right? You need to show up. You need to set the standard. So that evening, once we were done and we were heading home for the night, I went up to Danish and said, "Hey, thank you. You taught me something today. Big lesson." And he just deadpanned and looked at me and said, "I only called you because I wanted smokes." So it was such a Michael Scott moment. But he was right in the sense that if you set the standard and you show up, right, half the battle is won. And you really can't take yourself too seriously today. Right? I literally showed up in flip-flops. But the value of me showing up was more than me actually staying at home.
So true.
The other time, and I say flip-flops and shorts because Etihad is an area, it's an arena actually where presentation is everything. Who you are is what you wear. How you communicate is what you're defined as. I remember I was walking down the hallway and we had our CFO, James Rigney, walking the other way. So, good morning, walked past. So he crosses me, turns around, says, "Rohan, your belt doesn't match your shoes. Invest in yourself," and carries on walking, right? So for a moment, you're stunned. And then you're thinking, wait, why is he the fashion police? Right? But it goes deeper than that. It's not that he was criticizing my look, but in finance, in FP&A, and especially FP&A Etihad, you're not selling the number. You're selling outcomes. You're selling strategies. You're selling a story, right?
Right.
That story needs credibility. That credibility is based largely on how you present yourself. It goes beyond your PowerPoint. It goes beyond your Excel. It frankly goes all the way down to your belt and your shoes.
A classic lesson in executive presence,
Yes,
So
correct.
well, that quick 30-second was like a masterclass in executive presence.
Yeah, it's. I can tell you another example with Damak, right, with Mr. Sajwani. Crazy to think of the amount of hustle one person can have, right? And Damak is the kind of place where you are only as successful as your last success, which was yesterday. Khalas, we've forgotten about it. What are you doing today? Right? So I had come from Etihad where, I was more of a tech guru and I had done a lot of automation, which we will unravel soon enough. So when I go to Damak, it's all about, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create this 30-tab Excel model, which is going to impress him. It's feeding data from 5 different places. It's brilliant, right? It's going to change his life. So I set up time with him and I set up half an hour. I remember I set up half an hour, which is criminal. You don't set half an hour with him. And I start explaining and, this is going to change your life. This is what we're going to do. This is what the model does. You click a button, blah, blah, blah. He gave me 5 seconds. Then he got up and said, "Send it to me on WhatsApp." And he just left, right? How on earth are you going to send an Excel file on WhatsApp? Right? So what he was trying to convey, and it took me a long while to fall on the same page with him, right? If you can't boil it down to 5 lines on WhatsApp, then you yourself are not clear on what you're trying to convey. And then he needs clarity on top of that. So you were telling me you're married and, how did you meet your wife?
It was an arranged marriage.
So I'm
Family
sure
friends.
while you were courting your wife, in the early days, you would have sent her a couple of risky texts, right? So on WhatsApp. And on WhatsApp, double tick means delivered, blue means read.
Yeah.
When she doesn't reply, you're like, oh, yes or no, did I say something wrong? I'm embarrassed to tell you, I have spent many nights waiting for that blue tick and no response after that, right? Did I say something wrong? Is the model clear enough? I've spent sleepless nights waiting for him to come back to me the next morning and say, okay. in Damac, in particular, in any fast-paced entrepreneurship, his philosophy was disarmingly simple. The job of finance, bookkeeping aside, right, is to give him confidence in making decisions faster. So my tenure in Damac, which was 2 years, it was all about executing a strategy and pivoting faster than the competition, right? And finance was an enabler. That's all we are. A lot of this is what I do today at G42, because my role today at G42, from my experience, is to give my boss that flexibility, right? Give him that confidence. Here are your decisions. You choose what's right.
Insights over noise.
Exactly.
That's
Insights over nice. That's perfect. And that's exactly how I would have phrased it. It's the clarity which you can give them.
Amazing. No, these are all extremely great masterclasses, right? Because end of the day, it's a great reminder for all of us that FP&A roles are not about your Excel templates or the kind of dashboards that you're working on, but what is the outcome of it and how are you actually influencing decisions? That is extremely important.
It's a story. At the end of the day, you're not selling the numbers anymore. You're selling a story. Right?
Cool, amazing. So to continue on your journey at G42, right? So it's a fast-paced AI company, very different from a traditional kind of a setup, and you're at the heart of AI innovation, and you're looking at all the developments. Your clients using it, the market is using it, right? So how is FP&A in a fast-paced AI company different from a traditional setup?
From a traditional point of view, FP&A or finance has always been about showing you the variances. This is your budget, this is your actuals, and that's about it. It's steady, it's predictable. You can retire doing it, right? And for most people like you and me, that would be too slow. It's not fast-paced. But in today's world with AI, the biggest change, Dhawal, is the speed, the cadence.
It's extremely volatile.
You are making decisions far faster, exponentially faster than a traditional accounting firm, right? 5 years back. Now, with that, with the decision-making speed, you also have the risk, which is multiplying, right?
Right.
What we see today with AI coming in particular with FP&A, previously we would forecast, we would give you options, we would allow you to make a decision based on multiple forecasts, right? Those had fixed variables. Today with AI, those forecasts are multiplied. Those forecasts can be crunched by AI faster than your coffee is cold, right? So the decision-making ability of a leader is magnified. Right?
Okay.
Our role in FP&A is to still shepherd that decision-making ability within the laws of governance, right? Within the laws of cash flows, right? To enable you to make that right decision, right? So the biggest change apart from speed is also a change in the variables. Take, for example, aviation or real estate. Your variables are fixed, right? Fuel is your biggest variable, right? The standard deviation of fuel is only the fuel price. You will burn X amount, but into a fuel price which is dependent on market conditions. Seasonality. With real estate, demand. A supply curve. Today with AI, the variables itself, which is the foundation of any model, is moving. For example, you have unpredictable adoption curves, right? You have new technologies almost every week. If your foundational assumptions are not fixed, you end up forecasting multiple universes, right? The multiverse. So from a traditional point of view, you had one forecast, now you have multiple forecasts. Right? You don't need more manpower to do it. In fact, some might argue you need less manpower in today's day and age because you have AI enabling you to make those decisions or at least crunch those numbers. We also have evolving regulations with AI. It will take a couple of years for those regulations to settle down, for all of us to be on the same page. It's a global phenomenon. In the interim, we're quite, it's like the Wild West. We're doing as much as we can to ensure, amongst other things, governance is maintained, confidentiality is maintained,
Hmm.
and above all, our role in finance is cash flow management. I think the third big change which I see from a traditional sense is exactly that. It's cash flow management. So in a traditional accounting structure, finance or FP&A or FinOps, treasury, we are the last gatekeepers before cash is out the door.
Hmm.
Right? We're the last checks and balances. We're the brake pad, if you would call us so. That can't be the case in today's day and age with AI. Because today you need to be an enabler. You need to adopt new technologies. You need to spend to adopt new technologies as well.
Right.
But also you need to be a little cautious because you need to make sure that the plane doesn't take off without fuel. Right? So these three changes is what we see today from a traditional sense.
That's right. Is that hard? I get nervous if I'm not able to predict my revenues beyond 3 months or 6 months, right? So, in when I was working in the advertising and PR world, there was some level of uncertainty,
Correct.
especially back when we were working in India. So, let's say if IPL comes in, then we were all happy because the advertisers are going to spend more with us.
Correct.
But how much more they are going to spend, we had no idea. So,
Correct.
it is to always make me nervous if I'm not able to visualize my P&L, for more than 3 months. Is that something that you experience and that nervousness?
It is. I'm not going to lie. It is the Wild West, so to speak. So it's all a new frontier, right? We're all on the same boat, heading in a direction which we haven't really seen the destination yet. So I wouldn't say it's worrying. I would say it's exciting. But at the same time, the skill set you require today in the age of AI as an accountant in FP&A is completely different from the old world, right? So you can't only be an accountant. You need to be part accountant, part technologist. You need to be able to adopt new technologies, part philosopher because we don't know exactly how far this will go, and
Part business head.
part business head, but also above all, you need to be a storyteller. A lot of the valuations you see today in the West, in particular with any company with AI to their name, is a story. They're selling you a story, right? The end of the story or the last chapter of that story, we don't really know yet. We've not really turned that page, but we're buying into the story. And our job in FP&A is, again, to sell not the number, but the story
behind it. Interesting. So for all our aspiring FP&A leaders out there, what would be your top 2 pieces of advice for them? That hey, if you are going to be a top-notch FP&A leader with a great business, with a large multinational, here are the 2 things are an absolute must.
See, people often ask me if AI will replace us in finance, right? And my answer has always been the same. If you look at VBA or macros in Excel, they've been around for 30 plus years. 9 out of 10 Excel users today in finance, forget any other industry, have no idea about macros, have no idea about VBA. VBA itself has the ability to replace a small team. I know because I've done that, right?
Yeah, that's powerful.
If it's not happened in the past 30 years, the chances of something new coming in is not going to happen, right? But I'm going to caveat that with something else. If you look at VBAs over the past 30 years, they've automated a lot of tasks. AI today, the way it's being used in finance, is also automating a lot of tasks. But VBAs don't sign off on balance sheets. I do, right? VBAs do not stand up for your accountability. We have to. In the same light, AI will never sign off on a balance sheet, right?
Yep.
When an accountant signs off on the financial statements of a company, like in your company, for example, that's the accountant's integrity. That's the OG AI, right? You're never going to replace that. But you will be replaced by people who most likely have utilized AI tools better than you, right? Which is why I tell all my team members, don't fear the tools, maximize the tools, right? Your output as an FP&A leader or an FP&A professional is about selling an outcome. It's about the credibility you bring to that outcome, whether it's your belt matching your shoes or not, right? Use AI to amplify that message.
Interesting. So, to unpack your quick set of insights, right? So, be an early adopter at AI,
Yes.
right, and be a great storyteller. These are the two messages that I'm getting for aspiring FP&A leaders.
Be a great storyteller in the sense that it's the 5 lines on WhatsApp which got me multiple promotions in the Mac, right? It wasn't the 30-page Excels. But at the same time, people will remember the story and not the KPI, right? It's the story which brings you back into the boardroom.
Amazing. So, how do you see the developments in FP&A over the next 5 to 10 years? What is going to change?
What we see as trends, right? Nothing really changes in the world of accounting, which has been around since 13th, 14th century, I guess. That's, let's say, 700 years of double entry bookkeeping, right? In 700 years of double entry bookkeeping, you have built the entire financial universe on 3 fundamental pillars, right? Discipline, accuracy, judgment.
Yeah.
Debit credit is based on these 3
Yes.
things, right? That hasn't changed, neither will it change in the future. I would say that's a FinOps side of things, right? Here for FP&A, and my passion is FP&A, I'm done with the FinOps side of things, right? I have a slightly different philosophy which I've borrowed from Stoicism, which is similar, but it has a little flavor of judgment, right? So instead of discipline, accuracy, and judgment, it is discipline, courage, and wisdom.
Okay.
Right? You still need the discipline, like we all do in all tenets of our life. You need the courage to be able to adopt new technologies. You need the courage to be able to put your neck out, right? Use AI to amplify your message. But you need the wisdom to use AI. I see a lot of people today using AI in a way that would cause grievances to their company in terms of data sharing, in terms of confidential information. You can't exactly excel in today's world without having a little bit of wisdom, right? Now, Stoicism has often been accused in the past of being an emotionless philosophy, right? And if you've met my wife, she would say I'm quite the same, right? But it's allowed me in FP&A to remove emotions from my work. Now, you remove emotions, you get clarity. Right?
Okay.
For example, an ego cannot accept reality, right? Fear will destroy a business case. Optimism distorts a forecast, right? When you cut out all the noise, you get your baseline forecast, which if I take you back to table tennis, it's again forecasting where the ball will come with pure clarity, right? So to answer your question, where we see in the next 5 to 10 years is that clarity. So if I was to take 10 years, in the short to medium term, we see tremendous focus on data cleansing because that's where you get your clarity.
Right.
I can see that becoming a niche industry on its own, right? It's not easy. But also I feel FP&A is best positioned to cleanse data. Nothing you can do in AI can you do with data that is messy, right? Garbage in, garbage out. That's in the next 3 to 5 years. Once your data is cleansed, let's say long term, 5 to 10 years, the decision making time, the cadence would have drastically reduced because you have already calculated, you have forecasted, for the lack of a better word, the multiverse, right? But the risks involved in each of those decisions are also magnified. And that's when this particular industry will excel. We've cleansed the data. We know the pitfalls. And now we're in prime position to provide our bosses, our leaders. If you're a leader yourself, you then get to see the outcomes of all those multiverses. Again, I take it back to the future FP&A leader is going to be part-time philosopher, right? Part-time technologist, but 100% accountable.
Amazing. So what I'm listening is that one needs that ability to cut through the various
Yeah.
kind of noises that are there, try and get clarity. AI will help you get the right kind of data, or other data cleansing comes first, and then the AI will help you get the right kind of data, which will
Yes.
save time. And then eventually you will be far more in a better position to empower the leaders that you are
Yes.
working with. Amazing.
Isn't that the essence of our job?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The way I run my team today is to allow me to make better decisions, so that I allow my boss to make faster decisions with confidence. And then I go home. That's all it is. FP&A in a line is allow your boss to make decisions in real time and with confidence.
Amazing. Amazing. So I often say that, great FP&A is a combination of people, process, data, and technology. Right? So which of these four are the hardest to manage, and why?
By far, people.
People.
There's no doubt about it. A macro will never go home early because they're tired, right? Excel has an autosave function. People forget. At the same time, it's the people which make us coming to work interesting, right? Otherwise, we're dealing with an emotionless robot. So, apart from the insecurities which you and I have, the ambitions which you and I have, you and I also bring to the table a little bit of flair, a little bit of drama, which are all essential tenets of a good story, right?
Yeah.
You can't avoid office politics, but at the same time, if there was no office politics, you'd,
What's the fun?
yeah. Right? I would say don't sit out of office politics, but at the same time, do the work while others are talking.
Yeah. Interesting. So people, I'll take that as the answer.
Yes.
And as a customer, we usually end with a rapid fire.
Okay.
So now that we are coming to the end of the episode, I'm going to, I have like 5 questions for you, rapid fire. They need not be one-word answers.
Okay.
But it can be short answer.
Okay.
Okay. Your favorite book.
Fooled by Randomness. I'm sorry, I don't know the author. I just know the book.
Okay.
But it's a brilliant book. It tells you that, half your life has been by pure luck and not skill. So it brings you down a notch.
Okay. Interesting take on that. What's the most underrated finance skill?
Asking the right question.
Asking the right question. Interesting. Finance job in a startup or a big corporation? Your favorite.
I've worked in both. Working in a startup will leave you with scars, but as you would know, but it definitely is a learning experience, which everyone does need. Working in an enterprise will give you scale.
Yeah. Skill and systems, I would say.
Scale systems, and you need a bit of both.
Interesting. One habit that has helped you succeed in FP&A?
I would say not taking myself too seriously, showing up in shorts for a budget season.
Just be there.
Just be there.
Okay. What's the best career advice that you have ever received?
I would go back to my granddad. If you don't know what to work on yourself.
Work on yourself. Oh, that's an amazing advice. Great. I think, we were able to unpack a lot of insights. I think what we were able to achieve in the end is a great mix of people, technology, AI. I think we were able to cover all the essential aspects for, our audience, for them to be great FP&A leaders. Thank you so much, Rohan, for being here with us today.
Thank you,
It was a pleasure having you here.
The pleasure
Thank you
is
so
mine.
much.
Thank you,
so much.
Dhaval.